Brooks the three. That's the answer that Michigan was looking for.
All right, good evening, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Dennis Fithian with you here on this Maize and Blue review. Michigan basketball postgame as Michigan has just defeated Tarleton. Wolverines coming back home from the desert, taking on the Texans of Tarleton State. And ready to talk about this one. That was Eli Brooks getting the bucket there on the Big Ten Network. Kevin Kugler on the call. Kevin Kugler and Brian Butch, the announcers tonight at the Chrysler Center. And Michigan gets this the win. It ends up being the same margin that it was at the half. Michigan was up 9 at the half. They win it by 9, 65-54. But, they have played 6 games now. And when Michigan lost last Tuesday, a lot of people talked about being an eye-opener, a shocker, and you're going to lose some games like that. But a lot of patience being called for with the young team and all the departures from last year's squad and all the young players and a transfer here. Patience was being, I think, the main thing that people were the narrative that I was hearing about with Michigan basketball. And I think patience is still something that is in order here for U of M, but a lot of people were hitting the panic button here tonight against Tarleton, and you can understand grazing that panic button a little bit. I'm not ready to hit the panic button, but I think the a concern button, I'm going to go ahead and press that right now here on Thanksgiving Eve with this Michigan basketball team. Now, this is a team, the Big Ten favorite. You're thinking about, getting that close to the Final Four last year and, all those things you think about leading up to the season. But, once the season starts and then you watch the team play, you have to be honest with yourself on what kind of team you see out there. And does this look like one of the better teams in the country? No. Do they look like they're one of the better teams in the Big Ten? And the answer to that right now is no. They've got really till January 8th when you start taking a look at it. Not that they, can lose a bunch of ball games. They can't lose to North Carolina and San Diego State and South Utah and, Minnesota or Nebraska or something like that in the games that they have here before they get into the new year. But they do have they don't have heavyweights in the Big Ten. And, even the North Carolina game, even though it is on the road and it is the Tar Heels, it's not like you're sitting here and saying this is a vintage North Carolina team that's a, top 5 team, top 10 team. They're not even in the top 25 right now. And I know that's early and everything. And that's not going to be a cakewalk going down there, but it could be a winnable game for them. Yeah, it can be the kind of game that can turn some things around for people like me and maybe you that are hitting the concern button. The biggest concern out of Vegas was that the team was not defending well and they couldn't shoot and they couldn't find a third scorer and they were sloppy with the ball. They did all right shooting the ball tonight in some spots. They shot 75% from the floor, but right out of the gate, this is a team that was just sloppy with the basketball. Way too many turnovers, like right on the first possession, turnover. And that just kept happening. Kevin Kugler, saying it 5 minutes in, this is a ragged start here for U of M. Brian Butch, who's the color analyst, was talking about them overthinking things. The broadcast team went back to the conversation that they had with Juwan Howard and what the coach had said yesterday in his run-up to this game in the media session, where he talked about the team needing to be better communicators and not being organized, organization and communication. Juwan Howard telling the broadcast team before this one, and you could see that. So all of these things with being able to run an offense, it's not one guy, it's not one particular pass, it's not leaving your feet, it's not throwing it in bad spaces or wherever else. They're playing too tight. They're playing too loose. I mean, you have to value the basketball. And right now, like sometimes you see it with a team that is that is very sound, and they can get on runs. They feed off of one another, and that also happens when you spiral the other way. And I think right now that's where they're at. I mean, they have maybe they're trying too hard, but whatever it is, they just they're not playing it in. I think they said in the broadcast tonight, you just have to go out there and play. Maybe they're overthinking things. Well, I think that could be the case when you're told that you are the defending champs, and you're told that you're the favorite to be the Big Ten champs this year, and you've got the number 4 next to your name, the 4th ranked team. You're out there saying, "Hey, man, we got to play way better, man." And you're just trying too hard, trying too much, and whatever that is. But I think talking about this team being a top 4 team in the country or a top 10 team in the country, maybe even a top 25 team right now, I'd take all of that and just throw it out the window. This team needs to get down to the basics of just coming down and trying to execute some simple things in the half court. They have a hard time getting the ball. Every team knows that they want to get the ball to Hunter Dickinson down on the block. And you know what? I would try to get Hunter Dickinson the ball down on the block every time too. They have not been very effective at doing it. They got a little bit better in the second half. I think Juwan went over there and demanded. I think Hunter went down there and demanded it, but that is their bread and butter. And they're having a hard time with entry passes. They're having a hard time Hunter passing out of those double teams, deflections. It's all of those things that have snowballed for this team here in the early going. As they're 6 games in, we've got enough here of a sample size to look at them and say, hey. Is this a team that is sound fundamentally, a good shooting team, a team that values the basketball? Not right now. And you do enter put into the equation that they've got a lot of newcomers. They lost a lot of experience. They lost a lot of defense. They lost a lot of shooting from outside, and all of those things are showing up. They're not a very, when you think about needing to be a good 3-point shooting team. Eli Brooks, he's been that. And Caleb Houston came back tonight. He hit his first one. It was close to a 3. He had his foot on his line. He came back and knocked down his next one. That, at least, when I'm looking at some of the good signs here for Michigan, that was a good sign, because Houston, after a decent start, then had really fallen off, of course, from downtown, and he has to be a volume shooter. He has to be a knockdown shooter from distance, and he had not been that. But 2 of 5 tonight was good, and he looked confident, feet set, and all those sort of things. So that was a positive sign. What continues to be concerning is Devontae Jones at point guard. He gets in and gets himself into foul trouble. And, there's offensive foul tonight. Sometimes playing his guy too close, getting an unfortunate whistle there, but, heading off to the bench like he had to with the 2 early fouls. Frankie Collins came in the first half and really did a nice job. And there were a lot of people looking on Wolverine Den, the TMBR message board, people saying, hey, this might be the best lineup. Having Frankie Collins out there, having Musa Diabate in the starting lineup. People were looking at a combination of Frankie Collins and Eli Brooks in the backcourt with Hunter Dickinson, Caleb Houston, and Musa Diabate up front. And if you're somebody that's saying, hey, that's Michigan's best 5 right now, I would say that I see it with Diabate right now. I'm not gonna make that move necessarily if I'm Juwan Howard with the true freshman Frankie Collins. It'll be interesting. I'm on just right after this game in why Frankie Collins didn't get, if any, a run in the second half when he played so well in the first. I mean, that was a little bit of a mystery to me, probably you as well. Maybe there's an explanation to that, of a turned ankle or something. I don't know. But we'll see if that was a player or coach's decision. That is an odd one considering how well Collins played. But yeah, I mean, it's not a situation where you're like, oh no, that's a ridiculous suggestion. That's not a ridiculous suggestion at all, to say that maybe Frankie Collins could supplant Devontae Jones, by the new year, sometime here in December. I mean, that's based on a pretty nice first half here from Frankie tonight against Tarleton. And then now 6 games to seeing Devontae Jones get into foul trouble and maybe turn the ball over too much himself, not run this team. And, the transition from Coastal Carolina to Michigan has not been a smooth one here for Devontae Jones. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing is Brandon Johns. Like Brandon Johns came in and did a nice job late in the season last year when he had to go in for Isaiah Livers. Remember, he had 14 against Florida State in the tournament. But, Brandon Johns, whatever it is, whether he's trying to put too much on himself, trying to be like the leader, it's not that it's not working. It's not the right. It's just he's forcing it too much. Maybe he would be better coming off the bench. And I think that's a move that maybe you could see. It's certainly, not crazy suggesting that, what about Moussa Diabate on the starting lineup and Brandon Johns coming off the bench? Yeah. Nice suggestion. Whether Juwan Howard wants to do it, knowing both of these, the players, knowing, what he wants to get out of Diabate and pushing him, knowing, the psyche of Brandon Johns, those are coaching things. You could see it. I think he understands why people would be asking for it because Diabate in certain times, like against Vegas on Friday night, he was awesome. And tonight in stretches, he was awesome too. And you want more Moussa. Energy, dunks, all of it. Snatching rebounds, offensive rebounds, and then going back up. He's got a variety of moves. He's not I'm not pigeonholing him with anything. That guy can do it all, seemingly. Maybe not shoot the three. But, more Diabate. And, just thinking about those particular lineup changes is something that at least is on my mind, probably on your mind as well. So Michigan gets this one done here tonight against Tarleton. But if you're listening to me this far through and you're saying, wow, you sound more like they lost the game rather than won it. They won it, but they weren't impressive doing it here tonight. The impressive things, if there were some impressive things, like I said, Caleb Houston being able to, find his shot a little bit, ended up 4 of 7 from the floor, 2 of 5 from downtown, made all of his free throws, had 10 boards. He's a nice passer. You can see that a couple times. He dropped one down behind over to Diabate for a jam in this one. That was a nice feel for the game. So you could see that from him. Eli Brooks, 3 of 9, he had a couple there late where he had them lined up like 2 in a row. He was pretty good in the first half, but ends up 4 of 12 with a team high 15 points. I mean, this is, Eli Brooks is their, he's everything in the backcourt and everything when he comes to shooting here. Dickinson, 9 points and 10 boards. At times, when he shoots that outside shot, he looks pretty comfortable. Another time he was on the baseline and he airmailed one. He's going to shoot those. And he's demonstrated, you would think we've seen a little bit of him in some video clips in the offseason of just what we've seen from him. I mean, his shot looks good, but, airmail and, shots, he's got to make more than, throwing them 3 feet over the basket. But I'm not as concerned about him. But, the rest of this is a work in progress. They've got a lot of time. That is the good news. I'm not here, preaching patience. And you can say, what are you talking about a lot of time? They've already lost 2 games. They damn near got beat by the Texans tonight. I get all that. I mean, look, I understand where you're coming from on that. They've got over a week now before they play Carolina. They lose that game. I think people are going from concern back over to that panic button a little bit. But, after that, I would think that they, just sitting here right now, would say that they'd probably lose that game against Carolina. So there's 3 losses. And then I'm just looking at the schedule here. San Diego State, I don't know. That one's in Ann Arbor. At Nebraska, that seems like a very winnable game, seeing what the Cornhuskers have done so far. I'm watching Minnesota right now. They've got an entirely new ball club here. That seems like it could be a victory for sure. What else? South Utah. I don't have the scouting report. I just know where the location is. Southern Utah. I mean, so those are the games. And then it's not till January the 8th where you see Michigan State on that schedule. So they do have some time, and they've got some games here that are, I don't know, like I said, manageable, winnable, and even the Carolina game here. So, I'm not going to panic until 2022. I'm going to take these next few games and see, like, Houston showed some signs tonight. Frankie Collins coming in off the bench. Zeb Jackson was dressed, but, he's been sick. He barely been practicing. It's hard to get him back in there and try to expecting to see something from him. At this point, I'm hoping, he just gets out there and gets some time. And, maybe they get maybe he's in the rotation by 2022, like the start of the Big Ten slate in the 2022, in the new year in January. I say next year, sounds like I'm talking about his junior year. No, I'm talking about this year in his sophomore year. So if I had to look for 3 stars in this game here for Michigan, now Eli Brooks had 15 points, but I would go to Moussa Diabate, who came off the floor as the number 1 star, 6 of 7 from the floor. He also had 7 boards and 14 points. The number 1 star for Michigan. Number 2 star, I'll go to Eli Brooks, who had 15 points, and he was 4 of 4 from the free throw line. And number 3 star goes to Caleb Houston. Came in, hit his first couple shots, 2 of 5 from downtown, 4 of 7 from the floor, 14 points in this game. So number 3 star, Caleb Houston. Number 2 star, Eli Brooks. And number 1 star, Moussa Diabate, the freshman, as Michigan wins this one 65-54. They have played 6 games, and they move to 4-2 on the year. And coming up next, they'll enjoy the Thanksgiving weekend, and they will head down to Tobacco Road. That is Thursday, so a week from tomorrow. They will be taking on the Tar Heels in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. We'll see what they're all about there. If they're able to tighten some of this up, the communication, all the things, these buzzwords when you're turning it over right out of the gate, 10 turnovers in 10 minutes. How many? 21 on the game. I mean, that's about 8 more than they want, and it's just all over there. Squeezing the ball, too loose. They just not valuing it enough. They just don't have that. They're not clicking. They don't have that chemistry where you just know where guys are going to be. You know how to make those passes. You're cutting. You're just not sloppy with it overall. I mean, when you have some turnovers, you get when you have some. I don't know if any of them where you'd look at and you say, oh, okay, that was like an extra pass, and, that one ended up just leaving their feet, throwing the ball when a guy's guarding them where you don't have an angle and the guy's just like stepping in front and grabbing it. It's like, what? That's not very good. So they won't like the film. They'll hate the film. They're watching this one. They're not going to like it. I would imagine they would get tomorrow off. I don't know how that schedule works. Maybe they'll bring them in tomorrow. But no, I would think they'd be back whenever they watch the film. They're not going to like it. And, how they get from, cutting down the turnovers and playing better. It's just playing more games, practicing more with one another and getting to know one another as well. Thanks for watching and tuning in here as Michigan does get the win, albeit, a sloppy performance over Tarleton. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Here it is, Thanksgiving Eve. We'll watch a bunch of football tomorrow. My family. I'll get to a Black Friday. A lot more games. Just sitting back and just waiting on Saturday. Waiting on Saturday at high noon. And thanks for watching this broadcast. 65-54. Michigan wins it. Good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving Eve.